Why, hello there. Today we are going to talk about my past, present, and future of books, what I've finished, what I'm in the middle of, and what we're going to get into. So, recently I finished the book We Came to Welcome You by Vincent Torrado. And this is a book about this couple, Sol and Alice. They move into this neighborhood where most of the neighborhood has a HOA or a home owners association membership and whatnot. They don't have to join it. It's an optional thing. But the neighbors seem obsessively pushy with getting them to join this agreement. And they move in there. It's one of those places, it's beautiful, but it also seems too good to be true. And oh, because it is too good to be true. The neighbors are creepy. There's some weird stuff going on. All the kids seem dead and soulless. There's this neighbor girl across the street, and she smells like open butthole or death or something that's been rotting, like hot, rotting garbage that every time Soul smells her, she wants to vomit. So that's going on in this neighborhood. And I gotta be honest, this was an addictive read. And I enjoyed it so much right up into the end. And then it felt like the author was on a deadline and wrote a two-page ending, and I'm so disappointed because it was so good. And then the ending, it was like, okay, we got to wrap this up really quick. You're going along, and then they just chop your foot off, and then they're like, okay, we're done. It's like, what the fudge? There's some crazy stuff happening in this neighborhood, and there's some weird thing that has made all the neighbors and people kind of like weird Stepford wives or something, and everyone's houses are all the same, and just people don't look how they should. Stuff is super creepy. It seems like there's some weird like telepathy communication going on between everyone, like somehow they're all connected in this weird way. It's like almost being infected by something, infected by this neighborhood. And you get to this point where finally it seems like something's going to be done about this, like the explosive ending. And the main character, one of the main characters, Soul, she's making a deal with this like entity or something. We'll just call it. She's like, okay, let's make a deal. But they never tell you what the deal is. So she made a deal, but it's to do things on her own terms and I guess have her and her wives remain themselves, not lose their identities. But it was just like, let's make a deal. None of the terms and conditions were ever explained. So that kind of disappointed me. It could have been so much more because the writing was so absolutely fantastic up until the end. All right, well, the ending was okay, but I obviously am very disappointed by it because I can't figure out how to even put it into terms. I don't want to give away spoilers, so that's why I'm not. I don't know. If anyone else has read this book, let me know what you thought about the ending. Maybe you thought it was really good, or maybe you felt like, yeah, like what happened there? Let me know if anyone else has read this. But otherwise, like I said, 95% of this book was awesome. Anyways, I've gone on too long about that. Let's tell you what I'm in the middle of. So, we are in the month of October, and I am one of the hosts for Occult Detective October, and right now I'm in the middle of two different books that I'm reading for this. One of them is the John Silence series by Algernon Blackwood. This was written in 1908, so super old. And one of the prompts for the readathon is to read a book before 1960. So this falls into that category. It's a bunch of different like stories. So I think there's 5 in all. I've read the first story and I'm almost done with the second story. And the first story in it is there's this author and somehow he becomes like haunted by these entities that are in the house that he lives in. And so he calls on Dr. John Silence, who's like a paranormal investigator, psychic detective guy. And he comes in there and, the guy tells him his story and he's like, you need to get out of this house. It's the house that's affecting you. So he's like, here, I'll set you and your wife up in this other house and I'm going to come back and I'm going to investigate this. And so he does. He comes back and he brings a cat and a dog. And he has them because, cats and dogs, like, they see stuff that we don't see. They are in tune with stuff that we might just overlook. And so he's kind of observing how the cat and the dog are acting. And I thought that was so cool in this story. And it seems like Algernon Blackwood was a big fan of cats because then his next story, too, is about this town of these weird people who are cats slash witches or something. I don't know. And the writing's really beautiful. And it's just written so freaking well. And he likes cats, and I like cats. So far it's going pretty good with that one. Okay, so also I'm in the middle of The Devil by Name by Keith Rawson, which is the second book in, I don't even know what the series would be called. The first book was Fever House. There was this, he was a cop, and then he went into, or he was in like Dark Ops or whatever before this guy, John Bonner. And every time I hear John Bonner, I think John Connor from Terminator. Anyways, John Connor. John Bonner. And all kinds of weird stuff happens in the first book. So a little bit on the first book because I'm in the second and maybe you haven't read the first one. So the first book, there is this hand that seems like it's the hand of a devil. So there's all kinds of weird occult crap that starts happening in this book. There's a hand, there's also an eye, and there's the voice. This hand, whenever it's near people, it makes them do really weird, effed up stuff. And then when it gets unleashed in an area, people just go crazy and insane and start killing each other. And so you got that going on. And then it's like flips between these different things. There's this group called Ark, and they're holding this guy called Saint Michael that might be an extraterrestrial or possibly an archangel. And so you have that, and he has like clairvoyance and can see stuff, and they kind of like been holding him and using him, and they're trying to use him to track down these remnants, which are the hand, the eye, the voice. And some government agency wants it so they can control the world and be evil a-holes or whatever. But there's all this weird occult paranormal stuff happening in it. So that happened. Basically, some crap hit the fan in the first book. They destroy the whole dang world. Half of it turns into like these zombie, violent people, creatures that no longer feel anything and just try to murder, and they don't really have any thoughts and whatnot. And so we're in the next book where all the chaos is happening, and we're now in the apocalyptic world. And this book is just as crazy as the first, and I'm loving it. It's so freaking good. Keith Rawson, dude. If you haven't read the first book, Fever House, go get it. And also, Stephen King and Joe Hill have been ranting and raving about this book too. So if you need like some cool kid author stamp of approval, Stephen King, Joe Hill, highly recommend these two books and this author. And that's what I'm gonna be reading tonight later. Hopefully I'll finish it tonight. It's so freaking good. And then maybe I'll read some more John Silence series. So that's what I'm in the middle of right now, those two. Now what we're gonna get into. Obviously, we're going to get into some more occult detective stuff, but I also have a couple other things that I wanted to mention because I just did my Occult Detective TBR video. If you haven't seen that, I'll put a link down below, and that'll tell you a bit more about what I'm reading for Occult Detective October. But I did get a ARC in the mail today, so I want to talk about that. And that is Don't Eat the Pie by Monique Asher. This is a Michigan author, so I love my Michigan authors. Support your locals. Yeah, don't eat the pie. What's in there? I don't know. Let's find out together. Literally, like, I opened this about an hour ago. So, newlywed Sam has always wanted to be a part of a normal, happy family. When her mother-in-law falls ill, Sam dutifully moves her family to Edenic Camellia Island to care for her. The island residents, namely the older women, welcome Sam and her daughter Emma with open arms, endless cocktails, and plenty of superstition. It seems perfect until it's not. The house next to her mother-in-law's is creepy. Not only that, it's where Ben's first wife died. Who's Ben? Who is Ben? Does it say anything about a Ben on here? Okay, anyways, I don't know. So, whoever Ben is, maybe it'll tell us as I read more, I'm not sure. Sam's teen daughter Emma isn't interested in spending the summer in Camellia. It gets even worse when Emma starts to see things, knowing that there are ghosts trying to warn her of something. But what? Despite Emma's pleas, Sam doesn't want to rock the boat with her new family. Emma won't pretend nothing is happening, especially as the messages become frequent. What secrets are buried on Camellia Island? And why are all the residents keen on keeping them quiet? Don't eat the pie, guys. Don't do it. We don't know what's in there. Could be poison. Nobody knows. So yeah, looking forward to that. And then, okay, so this next one I'm going to talk about, this author is like a must read for me. It became a must read after the last book that I read of theirs. And that is the new Brom book, Evil in Me. I had read Slewfoot. I thought that was really good. And then I read Krampus. And I loved it so much. It's my favorite holiday read now. And so after that, and just loving his artwork and loving the way he writes, I picked up this one because I had to. Evil in Me. Let's tell you about it. Brom. If you haven't read Brom yet, get on it. He's pretty awesome. Aspiring musician Ruby Tucker has had enough of her small rural town and dysfunctional family. but a falling out with her best friend and bandmate has killed her dreams of escaping and making it big in the 80s Atlanta punk scene. When Ruby helps her eccentric neighbor organize his religious relics, an ancient ring clamps down on her finger, possessing her with the spirit of a bloodthirsty demon. Here we go. There is no exercising it unless hundreds of people chant a spell to set Ruby free. And what's worse, the ring is a beacon of evil, drawing a monstrous mob straight to Ruby, hungry for her flesh. If Ruby can get her band back together, she's got a shot at salvation. It's time for her to face the music and put her whole soul into a song, one powerful enough to raise some hell. This devilish tale includes nearly 24 of Brom's immersive paintings and brilliant end papers. So let's see if I can find a couple in here to show you. Oh yeah, like look at that. It's so good. Yep, that. I don't know what those are, but they're scary. Ooh, yeah, these are good too. They're all good. He's an amazing artist. Have you guys read Brom? If you have and you have a favorite Brom book, I really want to know your favorite Brom book. So please tell me down in the comments. I honestly think mine currently is Krampus. I loved Krampus so much. It was so good. I don't even own it. I need to own it. I have to buy that. It's one I want to read like every holiday season now. So Brom's awesome. Let me know your favorite if you have one. Also, if you're a fan of videos where I talk about multiple things I'm reading or have read, next video coming up will be about that. So stick around, check it out. And if you enjoyed hanging out today, hit that subscribe button, come back, see me again, and we'll talk about more bookish things and weird stuff.